Ladies and gentlemen, we live in an age where the loudest applause comes not from a crowded hall, but from a glowing screen, where a like, a share, or a follow has become a modern currency of worth. Social media has created vast platforms that promised connection, but too often they deliver confinement, a confinement we call the echo chamber of digital validation. What is an echo chamber? It is a space where the only voices you hear are the ones that already agree with you, already praise you, already feed your need for acceptance. It feels safe, it feels affirming, but it is not the same as truth, growth, or freedom. We must ask ourselves, are we truly connecting, or are we simply curating a version of ourselves that fits neatly into the algorithm's approval? Are we measuring the depth of our lives in digital applause or in the quiet strength of authenticity? Beyond the echo chamber lies reality, a world where your worth is not determined by metrics but by meaning, a world where conversations are not edited for perfection but lived in imperfection, a world where human connection happens not because of hashtags but because of honesty. Validation is not inherently wrong. We all crave recognition, we all long to be seen. But when validation becomes an addiction, when our self-image rises and falls with every notification, we are no longer in control. Our identity belongs to the crowd. The challenge of our time is to reclaim that identity, to step out of the chamber and rediscover the value of unfiltered conversations, face-to-face presence, and self-worth that is anchored in who we are, not how we trend. So, I urge you today, let us use digital tools without becoming their tools. Let us seek voices that challenge us, not just comfort us. Let us validation in today's digital age. Validation has become almost instantaneous. A post, a picture, or a short video can be uploaded in seconds, and within moments, a stream of likes, comments, and shares pours in. That little red notification symbol lights up our screens, and for a fleeting moment, we feel seen, appreciated, and significant. It feels like approval, it feels like connection, but in truth, it is often nothing more than digital applause. The problem is not the dopamine itself, but the dependency it creates. Instead of turning inward to ask, am I proud of this? Does this reflect who I am? We turn outward, waiting for the verdict of strangers or acquaintances. Our worth, in this way, becomes externally rented rather than internally owned. This illusion is dangerous because it disguises itself as fulfillment. The more validation we receive online, the more we believe we are thriving. Yet beneath the surface, many people report feelings of emptiness, anxiety, and inadequacy when the likes slow down, when a post doesn't perform, or when someone else seems to be celebrated more. What began as a tool for connection has, for many, turned into a measure of identity. The illusion deepens in the way digital validation encourages us to curate ourselves for approval. We post the highlight reels of our lives, the perfect angle, the perfect filter, the carefully chosen words. But rarely do we post the unpolished truth, the struggles, the doubts, the insecurities. The result is a false image, not only for the audience but for ourselves. We begin to identify more with the edited self we put online than the authentic person we are offline. This disconnect can create loneliness even in the midst of constant interaction, because the validation we receive isn't for who we really are, it's for the version we've staged. Another aspect of this illusion is its fleeting nature. Digital validation does not last. Yesterday's post is quickly buried under today's trends, and the applause fades into silence. To maintain the same sense of worth, we feel pressured to post again, to share more, to keep feeding the algorithm. It is like drinking salt water, momentarily refreshing, but ultimately leaving us thirstier than before. True validation must come from a deeper source, our values, our principles, our self-respect, not from the unpredictable waves of digital approval. So, how do we break free from this illusion? It begins with awareness. Recognizing that validation is not the same as value is the first step. The second is intentional practice. Posting because something matters to you, because you want applause. Taking breaks from digital platforms to reconnect with the unedited rhythms of real life. Celebrating small personal victories privately without needing them to be displayed for recognition. And most importantly, nurturing relationships that go beyond likes on conversations where presence and honesty are worth more than any digital reaction. In the end, the illusion of digital validation can only hold power if we allow it. The truth is this: your worth was never meant to be measured in numbers. You are not the sum of your followers. You are not the average of your likes. You are not the trends that rise and fall. Beyond the illusion lies authenticity, and beyond authenticity lies freedom. The kind of freedom that no algorithm can give and no audience can take away. The danger of echo chambers: imagine standing in a vast hall where every word you speak bounces back to you, echoed endlessly. At first, it feels empowering. Your voice is loud, your message amplified. But soon you realize you are only hearing yourself. There is no challenge, no dialogue, no growth, only repetition. This is the reality of digital echo chambers. On social media and other online platforms, algorithms are designed to show us what we already like, what we already believe, and what we are already comfortable with. At first glance, this seems harmless, even helpful. If you enjoy cooking videos, you are shown more recipes. If you support a certain idea, you are fed more content that aligns with that idea. But beneath this convenience lies a profound danger: the shrinking of perspective. When we live inside echo chambers, we stop encountering difference. We stop hearing voices that challenge our assumptions. And without friction, there is no growth. Imagine a seed planted in soil that is never disturbed, never tested by wind or weather. It will remain weak, unable to take root deeply. Similarly, when our beliefs and opinions are never tested by opposing views, they remain shallow, fragile, and easily shaken when finally confronted by reality. Another danger of echo chambers is polarization. When people only interact with those who think like them, their views often become more extreme. Without balance, without exposure to nuance, communities harden into us versus them. Instead of learning from each other, we dismiss, ridicule, or even demonize those outside our chamber. What began as a tool for connection becomes a weapon of division. Even more troubling is the way echo chambers distort truth. In these enclosed spaces, misinformation spreads quickly because it goes unchallenged. If everyone around you repeats the same narrative, it begins to feel like fact, even when it is false. The digital world has made it possible for entire groups of people to live inside realities that are constructed, not discovered. Truth becomes optional, shaped by the loudest voices rather than the strongest evidence. But perhaps the most personal danger of echo chambers is the limitation they place on identity. If all we hear are voices that validate our current selves, we never encounter the ideas, people, and challenges that could help us grow into fuller, wiser, and more compassionate human beings. Diversity of thought is not a threat. It is a gift. It stretches us, teaches us, and humbles us. When we stay in echo chambers, we deny ourselves this gift. So how do we step out? First, it requires courage. The courage to listen to voices that may disagree with us, not with the goal of arguing, but with the intent of understanding. Second, it requires humility. The humility to accept that we do not have all the answers, that our perspective is only one piece of a much larger puzzle. Third, it requires intentionality, choosing to follow people, read sources, and engage with communities outside our comfort zone. Growth does not happen by accident. It happens when we deliberately step beyond what is familiar. Stepping out of echo chambers does not mean abandoning your values or compromising your beliefs. It means strengthening them by allowing them to be tested. It means respecting others enough to hear them fully, even if you ultimately disagree. And it means honoring yourself enough to seek the truth, even when it is uncomfortable. The world beyond echo chambers is not always easy. It can be messy, confusing, and sometimes uncomfortable, but it is also real. It is where authentic dialogue takes place, where empathy is cultivated, and where truth is more than an echo. In that space, we rediscover not only the richness of other perspectives, but also the strength of our own. The distinction between recognition and addiction at the heart of being human is the desire to be seen. From the moment we are born, recognition plays a vital role in shaping our sense of self. A child lights up when their parent claps at their first step. A student feels encouraged when a teacher praises their effort. An employee thrives when their work is acknowledged by their team. Recognition is not just a want. It is a need, a fundamental part of belonging and self-worth. But somewhere along the digital highway, recognition has been twisted into something else, something addictive. The line between healthy acknowledgement and unhealthy dependency has blurred, and many of us are caught in a cycle of chasing approval rather than cultivating confidence. The difference between recognition and addiction is subtle but profound. Recognition is rooted in reality. It affirms effort, character, or achievement that already holds value. It feels good, but it does not define you. Addiction, on the other hand, is rooted in craving. It does not satisfy, it demands more. It whispers, one more post, one more like, one more comment, and then you will feel enough. But the feeling of enough never arrives. Digital platforms amplify this problem by turning recognition into metrics, numbers that rise and fall at unpredictable rates. In psychology, this is known as variable reward, the same principle that makes slot machines addictive. You don't know when the jackpot of likes or views will come, so you keep posting, keep scrolling, keep refreshing. Recognition becomes less about genuine connection and more about feeding an endless cycle of need. The danger here is not only external, it is deeply internal. When we rely on digital applause to feel valuable, we slowly surrender control of our identity. Our sense of self becomes fragile, dependent on the mood of an audience we cannot see and the decisions of algorithms we cannot control. We begin editing not just our photos, but our very personalities to fit what works online. What once was recognition for who we are turns into addiction to who we pretend to be. True recognition, however, is empowering. It does not imprison, it liberates. When someone recognizes your kindness, your persistence, or your talent, it affirms qualities that already belong to you. It does not demand that you perform for validation, but reminds you of your worth even when the applause fades. Recognition is a mirror, addiction is a mask. So, how do we reclaim recognition without falling into addiction? The first step is awareness. Knowing the difference, ask yourself, am I sharing this because it matters to me or because I want attention? If the answer leans toward attention, pause. The second step is boundaries, setting limits on how often you check, how deeply you measure yourself against numbers, and how much weight you give to online reactions. The third step is balance, seeking recognition in real-world interactions where authenticity is harder to fake. A genuine thank you from a friend, a compliment from a colleague, or the pride you feel in completing a personal goal will always carry more weight than 100 likes. Most importantly, we must anchor our sense of worth in something deeper than recognition, our values, our integrity, our growth. Recognition is sweet, but it is not the substance of life. Addiction drains us, authenticity sustains us. At the end of the day, the question is not whether recognition is good or bad. It is essential. The question is whether we are using recognition as a guidepost or as a lifeline, because when recognition fuels gratitude and growth, it strengthens us. But when it turns into addiction, it consumes us. And the difference between the two determines whether we live free or forever chained to the screen. Reclaiming authentic identity in a world where digital applause echoes louder than ever. One of the greatest challenges we face is remembering who we are outside of the screen. Social media and digital platforms have given us tools to express ourselves, but they have also tempted us to perform ourselves. Bit by bit, we trade pieces of our authenticity for approval. The danger is subtle, because it feels like we are being seen. But in truth, what people often see is a carefully crafted version of us, not our authentic selves. Reclaiming authentic identity begins with an uncomfortable truth. Many of us are living edited lives. We post the brightest smiles but rarely the tears. We share successes but hide failures. We show the curated highlight reel while concealing the messy behind the scenes. Over time, this curation doesn't just deceive others, it deceives us. We start to believe we are only as good as our polished image. We measure our worth in aesthetics instead of authenticity. But who are we when the filters are stripped away? Who are we when the Wi-Fi disconnects? Who are we when the audience isn't watching? That's the essence of authentic identity. It's not the version that trends, it's the version that remains true in silence. Authenticity matters because it gives us freedom. When we rely on digital validation to define us, we are constantly at the mercy of others' opinions. A negative comment can crush us. A post with fewer likes can make us question our value. But when we reclaim authenticity, we reclaim stability. We realize that our worth is not fragile, not dependent on numbers, and not up for negotiation. It is rooted in who we are, not how we are received. Reclaiming authentic identity also requires courage, the courage to be imperfect in a culture obsessed with perfection. True connection is built not when we show how flawless we are, but when we allow others to see our flaws and love us anyway. Vulnerability may feel risky, but it is the foundation of trust. People connect to your struggles as much as, if not more than, your victories. In authenticity, we give others permission to be real too. Another key step in reclaiming identity is reflection. Ask yourself, am I living by my values or by my followers' expectations? Am I posting this because it's true to me or because it's trending? Reflection pulls us back to center, reminding us that our digital presence is only a tool, not the totality of who we are. Reclaiming authenticity doesn't mean rejecting technology or silence on digital platforms. It means using them differently. It means sharing when you have something meaningful to say, not just something clickable. It means posting not for applause, but for expression. It means allowing the unfiltered parts of yourself to be visible, not recklessly, but honestly. Authentic identity also grows strongest offline. Face-to-face conversations, acts of service, quiet moments of self-discovery, all of these nourish identity in ways that no algorithm can replicate. When we invest in the real world, our friendships, our families, our passions, we strengthen the core of who we are, and that core becomes the anchor that keeps us steady when digital waves rise and fall. Ultimately, reclaiming authentic identity is about ownership. It is refusing to outsource your worth to platforms, audiences, or metrics. It is declaring, I know who I am, and I don't need digital applause to confirm it. It is choosing to be real over being popular, to be grounded over being validated, because the truth is this: the world doesn't need another perfect profile. It needs more real people, flawed, honest, courageous, and unafraid to stand as themselves. Reclaiming your authentic identity is not just an act of self-liberation. It is a gift to everyone around you. Building genuine connections at the core of every human being lies an undeniable truth. We are wired for connection. Not just connection in the sense of being linked through a follow button or a digital friendship, but true connection, the kind that nourishes the soul, sharpens the mind, and strengthens the heart. In a digital world overflowing with interactions, paradoxically, many of us are lonelier than ever. Why? Because what we are experiencing online is often contact without connection. Genuine connection is built on honesty, presence, and shared humanity. It is not about how many people react to your post, but about how many people truly know you. It is not about the size of your audience, but the depth of your relationships. And yet, in the echo chamber of digital validation, many of us confuse attention with intimacy. We mistake digital applause for friendship and online visibility for belonging. Building genuine connections requires us to step beyond the curated version of ourselves. It asks us to risk vulnerability, to let others see not just our polished victories, but also our struggles, doubts, and imperfections. When you dare to show your authentic self, you invite others to do the same. This shared vulnerability becomes the soil in which trust grows. Without trust, there is no real connection. Another essential ingredient of genuine connection is presence. Digital life has trained us to multitask constantly, to scroll while we eat, to text while we talk, to listen while we check notifications. But true connection cannot survive divided attention. It flourishes only when we are fully present, giving someone our time, our focus, and our empathy. Looking into someone's eyes during a conversation, listening not to reply but to understand. These small acts of presence create bonds stronger than any number of likes. Equally important is reciprocity. Genuine connection is a two-way street. It is not about how much someone celebrates you online, but about how deeply you show up for each other offline. It means being there in moments of joy and in moments of pain, not just when it's convenient or public. Reciprocity transforms relationships from shallow interactions into meaningful commitments. The digital world does not have to be an enemy of genuine connection. It can be a bridge. Technology gives us tools to stay in touch across distances, to share ideas, to build communities. But those tools must be used wisely. Instead of chasing viral reach, we can use platforms to deepen real conversations. Instead of scrolling endlessly, we can choose to engage intentionally, reaching out personally rather than broadcasting impersonally. To build genuine connections, we also need courage. The courage to resist the pull of superficial approval and invest in the slower, sometimes harder work of real relationships. It may mean fewer followers but deeper friendships. It may mean fewer posts but more meaningful conversations. And it will always mean prioritizing quality over quantity. In the end, the test of connection is not how many people know your name, but how many people truly know your heart. The ones who show up when the applause fades, who stand by you when you have nothing to offer but your truth. Those are the connections that sustain life. So let us step beyond the echo chamber of digital validation and into the rich, imperfect, and beautiful world of genuine human connection. Because in the end, it is not the likes, the shares, or the fleeting approval that will matter. It is the people who walked beside us, who truly saw us, and who loved us not for how we appeared, but for who we are. We began this journey by confronting the illusion of digital validation, the fleeting applause that makes us feel worthy for a moment, but leaves us emptier the longer we chase it. We saw the danger of echo chambers, where comfort blinds us to growth and division drowns out truth. We explored the delicate line between recognition and addiction, realizing that while affirmation is healthy, dependency on it imprisons us. We reclaimed the power of authentic identity, remembering that our truest worth is not measured in numbers, but in values, integrity, and courage. And finally, we embrace the sacred work of building genuine connections, the kind that sustain us far beyond the digital glow. The message is clear. Our humanity cannot be reduced to algorithms, metrics, or curated performances. Beyond the echo chamber lies a world richer, deeper, and more real than any notification could ever offer. It is a world where your voice matters not because it is amplified, but because it is true. A world where your identity is not borrowed from strangers' approval, but grounded in your own authenticity. A world where your connections are not measured in followers, but in friends who know you, stand with you, and love you as you are. The challenge, then, is not to abandon the digital world. It is to master it, to use it as a tool without becoming its tool, to share without performing, to connect without pretending, to speak without echoing only ourselves. So let us step boldly beyond the echo chamber. Let us reclaim our voices, our identities, and our relationships. Because when the screens go dark, what remains is not the applause, not the algorithms, not the numbers, but the life we truly lived, the truth we stood for, and the love we gave and received. That is the validation that matters. That is the connection that lasts, and that is the echo worth leaving behind.